The big focus this Tuesday here in Davos may have been on the headliners, such as the President of the European Commission, Ursula von der Leyen, who gave her special address this morning here. But also, amongst the biggest discussions has been a focus on sustainability, ESG, and how corporations must cut their carbon emissions. Given that, I really wanted to introduce you to Luiz Amaral, who is the CEO of the Science Based Targets Initiative, is here in Davos, and a lot of people have been wanting to meet. I'm also delighted to say Luiz is one of our new clients at Grayling and Citygate, Drew Rogerson. Luiz, so great to have you here today. I mean, first of all, for those who don't know the organisation, could you just tell us a little bit of background about SBTI and what you as an organisation are trying to do?
Oh, great. Thank you. Thank you for the invitation. Well, the Science Based Targets Initiative is the standard setter and quality assurer that corporate climate action moves from doing something on climate change on doing enough according to what climate model tells us to do. We do basically two things. One, we develop the guidances so companies know what needs to happen in line with climate modeling, so we can achieve, we can have emissions by 2030 and achieve net zero emissions by 2050. And second, then we validate if companies' plans are aligned with those guidances. And that's a partnership between 5 of the most credible organizations in the sector that have started science-based targets a few years back.
When you come to Davos, one of the most striking things about it is the way you have public, private and non-governmental organisations such as the SBTI all jammed together, absolutely crammed and packed into one place. Does that make it easier to get sustainability initiatives off the ground, do you think?
I would say more than that. It's absolutely paramount to get sustainability out of the ground. It's within the DNA of the Science Based Targets Initiative, this cooperation. As I mentioned, we were founded by 5 of the most credible organizations such as UN Global Compact, WRI, WWF, CDP, and Women Business Coalition. But the way we build our standards is based on the idea of cooperation. We have solid, rigorous practice that consult academia, consult NGOs, consult businesses, and bring all of that melting pot to get us to where we need. So that's what we need, and that's where Davos is important, to get those stakeholders together.
Nonetheless, you are a voluntary initiative. Companies aren't mandated to sign up. How can a voluntary initiative like the SBTI deliver the scale of change that is needed?
The SBTI is a market-based initiative, right? And it has been growing significantly. We have doubled the size of companies every year for the past 3 years. We are today at 4,000 companies with targets that have committed to setting science-based targets, out of which 2,000 of them have already made that. That is double of what it was last year, and that's already 1/3 of the global market cap. So we are getting to the scalability. Our objective is making science-based targets business as usual, but that's the beginning, right? Market leads, and then regulation needs to follow, and we're seeing some of that happening in some countries. For example, with the US procurement legislation that will require companies to set in science-based targets, or the Norwegian government regulation as well, that's requiring their state-owned companies to also do the same.
And that's encouraging, obviously, what we see from Norway and the US, but from the perspective of what you guys do as an organisation, asking businesses to commit and submit their carbon reduction plans, what do you say to your critics who argue that there needs to be a lot more rigour around what is actually being delivered, so going beyond simply setting carbon reduction targets? What do you say to that?
We are navigating the edge of knowledge. What we have been doing today hasn't been done before, right? We're trying to translate complex scientific models into actionable corporate action and guidances for corporate action. So it's a constant evolution. We started with commitments many years back. It was just companies would make commitments to say, I'll get to set a target. Well, now they're setting the target, so we're getting to the ambition. So they're defining what success looks like on a very credible and well-defined way, so we know in a few years if they're meeting that or not. If you don't set that credible objective, it's very hard to assess progress against that. But now we're moving ahead as well, because we know that the market wants that. So we're kicking off our project, which is called Measuring, Reporting, and Evaluation, which is actually will be a new guidance to try to support businesses and the stakeholders around it to follow progress against those targets.
Well, we really wish you well with that. It's a super important initiative. Thanks so much indeed, Luiz, for joining us. And that wraps up day 2 from us here in Davos. Plenty more to come this week, so do stay with us.